What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another About Teams video. And today we're going to be doing an NHL recap of yesterday's two games and a preview of tonight's two games where maybe one team season end. We'll see. But it's the second round, and I guess the first one we're going to get into is the Colorado Avalanche versus the Dallas Stars. And as a guy that threw some money down on the Stars winning the Stanley Cup before the playoffs, I am happy. And like I said in the preview of this matchup, I just think the Stars are more depth. And I got to give a shout out to Wyatt Johnson because I think he has 11 goals in the playoffs so far. He's been an absolute beast. Only, I believe, 21. I think it's actually his birthday today, so maybe 22. I saw that interesting stat. The Stars, for me, they've just been getting on the Colorado Avalanche early. And if it wasn't for them blowing a 3-goal lead in game one, this series would have been a sweep. The Stars are just more deep. They've been getting off to great starts. Colorado, I believe, only had 2 shots at the end of the first period. So the Stars have just come out, matched their top line. They've contained Colorado's top line. And when Colorado's top line isn't producing, it's hard for the other lines to get anything going. And I think that's just kind of improvement throughout this whole series. I just trust Dallas. They got the line. They don't have a weak line necessarily, 1 through 4. They're all pretty balanced. And I mean, it's just a great mix of youth with players like Wyatt Johnson, but veterans like Jamie Benn, Joe Pavelski on the team. I just love this team. Jake Onger been locked in recently for these playoffs. And like I said, if Colorado, Nathan McKinnon, if they're getting shut down, where does their offense come from is kind of a big question mark for me. And it hasn't come. And I think, honestly, the series is going to end pretty quickly. I think Stars go back home, win Game 5, and we could put a bow on this series.
I should have known better than to bet against the Otter. I knew he was a playoff performer, and for whatever reason, I figured this was the same Colorado team that won the Cup just a few years back. But boy, oh boy, was I wrong. The Stars team, like you said, is deep. They play incredible defense, and they're relentless on offense. So I'm with you now. I think it's going to end in Dallas. I think it's going to end in 5. Could have been a clean sweep, like you said, if they didn't blow a 3-goal lead.
Yeah, I mean,
the series.
You thought maybe another 3-goal Dallas lead. Colorado scores. You thought maybe a comeback, but nope. Dallas made it no sweat, able to ice the game. For me, yeah, it's just come down to depth this series, which is why I picked them. Colorado, yeah, just too top heavy. Don't really trust what Gorgiev, I believe, in that. Just doesn't do it for me. Is, I guess, decent in the regular season, but they just win from their star power most of the time in the regular season while they're able to win 50-plus games consistently. But, shout out to Dallas. They've just been balling. I really believe they are the best team in these playoffs, and it's just been great to watch. I mean, we haven't kept kind of count yet, but I feel like in most of these series predictions, I have a heads up on you right now. I hear some switching, but we got to give credit where credit's due. Dallas is that team.
Yeah, you probably do. I'm going cold on the predictions. I guess I don't know ball.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
We're gonna need some bounce back. But yeah, no, I think for Colorado to have any chance in Game 5, Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar, their superstars are going to need to step up in a big way. But I just don't see it happening because Dallas has the ability to counter really quickly. And I thought the series was always a mismatch. But, we'll see what happens, because maybe Colorado – I love that quote from Mike Malone, even though it's a different sport. After the Nuggets went down 0-2 in their series, he says, you got to play like a champion. And you have the heart of a champion. So maybe Colorado has some motivation, just plays better than they've shown kind of throughout the whole series. But we'll see if they show like the champions they were just like a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. But with that series being said, I think we can move into the last game played that has made this series a lot more interesting. I think we both, I believe I picked Carolina to win the series in 7. News going the distance.
I didn't think we had a. I don't think we had a pick. We said whoever won an away game, and now both teams.
Oh
have
yeah.
Game. So,
but either way, I guess I bet on the Hurricanes to win, and I was kind of referencing what was it called? Like how they played New York last time in the playoffs. It was both teams won at home, and then New York stole Game 7 in Carolina. I had like a feeling it was going to be vice versa. Carolina steals in New York, but New York went up 3-0. We kind of both put a bow on this series. Kind of over. Maybe Carolina wins one at home, but New York will close 7-5. That has not been the case. Throughout the first 2 periods, New York was winning the faceoffs. Carolina was getting some shots off, but it was kind of like, a pretty even match. New York went up 1-0, but Carolina threw a punch and then some. They just battled back. They were great on the penalty kill, which I think was in New York's favor early in the series, being able to quickly capitalize on the power play. Carolina did a good job killing the penalty. Or the power play. Jordan Stahl, absolute beast. They've Carolina still flopped goaltenders, but Frederik Andersen been solid the last 2 games. Now we head back to Raleigh, and this is kind of like where a sports mentality gets, I feel like, in the way. You're like, if you're in New York, you had a chance to close it out in Carolina, get some good rest. Now you're like, all right, head back to New York, end this thing. Now it's like, nope, got a quick round trip back to Raleigh, and then in front of that Carolina home crowd, which Carolina is very good at home. I mean, New York could easily win Game 6. Carolina can easily win Game 6. This is kind of a 50-50, but New York, Carolina's got the momentum. They got that home crowd behind them. I like the series going 7. I'm going to be honest. I think if New York were to lose this game or blow this series 3-0, as the President's Trophy, there's going to be a lot of pushback. And there's going to be some question marks. But Carolina was the favorites for a reason. They're not going to go out in a quiet 4 or 5 game series. It's going to be tough. And I don't know. Carolina's just been scrappy, and they've found a way. So, and why not force the Game 7? We got one Game 7.
Yep. For entertainment purposes, I'm praying it goes 7. Mm-hmm. And on that same note, I'm praying Carolina wins it. But my gut is telling me that the Rangers are going to punch back. They've taken 2 pretty hard punches. They kind of had Carolina dead to rights, up 3-0. Probably took the foot off the gas a little bit, maybe thinking that they were going to breeze through 4 games. Carolina fought back and then really punched back at home. Up 1-0 going into the 3rd period, and then all of a sudden you give up 4 goals at home. That's a punch in the mouth. So I think New York's going to respond. Like I said, I want Carolina to win, but my gut is telling me New York's going to close it in Raleigh. But you never know. This series, you never know. We knew it was going to be a good series. Even at 3-0, it felt like a much closer series than what the.
Yeah, no, every game was like 1 goal.
Yeah, exactly.
It's been great.
Was this the first game that was more than a 1 goal margin?
Even then, though, it was like 3-1, and then I think it was an empty net goal late or a very late goal to ice it. But yeah, the series just got a lot more interesting. We shall see what happens the rest of the way. But yeah, why not force a Game 7? Carolina's got all the momentum right now. Let's see if they can ride it.
We're pulling for you, Carolina.
Yeah. But with that being said, shout out to Carolina yesterday. They didn't take their foot off the gas at all in that 3rd period. We're just relentless to come back and bring this back to Raleigh, and they did, and they deserve it. And we deserve another game of the series because it's been a really good series. With that being said, let's get into tonight's preview, where we have maybe our first potential series coming to an end. Obviously, Boston people, I don't give a shit about the Bruins. Nick does, though. Big Bruins fan. I guess I'll start first because I know maybe you have a
Okay.
prediction. I think if any of these games were somewhat close, I would have thought maybe Boston could bring this back. Even though the score was 3-2, Florida has just dominated the time of possession, shots on goal, quality chances, speed. They've had more power play opportunities because Boston's been kind of a little undisciplined in some areas. In blowing a 2-goal lead at home to tie the series up 2-2, I don't know where they don't have any momentum right now. I think
Nope.
Florida blows them out in game 5, and this is like maybe a 5-1 game. If Boston proves me wrong, wins, good for them, goes back to Boston, could get interesting, but they haven't shown me anything in the last 3 games. Really, though, like we talked about in game 1, Boston won 5-1. Wasn't really a 5-1 game. It was just they capitalized on their chances. Florida missed some. But Boston still won 5-1. We thought, all right, the series is on. Boston won the regular season sweep, but Florida's just proven I think they're just too much for Boston to handle. They got playoff players all around the ice. Speed. I don't know. I don't see a world where Florida loses this.
No. I think the Bruins tend to play elimination games pretty close, either when their backs are against the wall or if they're the team pushing the other one to the brink. They tend to play them pretty close. So I'm not sure a blowout is at hand, but with what they've shown us the past, 3 games, like it's very, very, very possible.
Yeah.
If they somehow sneak this one out in Florida, they've, like I mentioned last video, they've proven that they might as well be skating in an empty rink at home because a home ice is pretty much useless to them. It's embarrassing how bad they play at home in the playoffs. So if it goes back to Boston, I think that's where Florida would put it away. I think their chances of winning tonight's game are more likely than them winning game 6. That's how I'll.
Yeah, I could see that. Maybe Boston lights a fire. They know their season's on the line. They at least
Yeah.
punch early in the first period. That could happen. But I just think Florida has shown over these last 3 games they can just dominate time of possession, just have control of the puck, and they've really frustrated Boston's offense. For Boston to win this game, for me, they got to do good on the power play. They did a good job in game 4 containing Florida's power play. They just got to, like we saw Pastrnak scoring the power play, you got to win the power play. You just can't let Florida get those high-quality chances. Florida's that good of a team that they probably will still get some. But you never know. Maybe Boston can just throw them a huge punch because, we've seen teams kind of take their foot off the gas. And maybe Florida thinks, from a mentality standpoint, the series is over already. They've dominated the last 3. They're going back to Florida. They know Boston choked that game. Maybe they don't think anything. So I could see Florida looking over Boston. But from what I've seen, though, I just haven't seen it. And Florida has that Stanley Cup pedigree from last year. Obviously, they didn't win it, but they made it there. And they just got playoff players. So like them. But we'll see.
Forgetting. Oh, yeah. Going back to your point about the power play. The Bruins need to stay out of the box because their penalty minutes this series is like ridiculous. And people can bitch and moan about the referees all they want, but
I've heard that from Bruins fans.
They're committing stupid penalties. You can complain about the goalie interference all you want. Yes, it was goalie interference, but let's be honest. They were going to tie the game either way. We all know that. The Bruins were clinging on to that 1-goal lead with everything they had. Like, it's not like the Bruins were pushing, and then all of a sudden gave up that goal. Like, no, Florida was going to tie it up eventually. And then they ended up scoring the winning goal not too long after. But stay out of the box if you want a chance at winning, because once you get in the box, Florida's power play is just going to wear you down. And, just don't be stupid. Play with pride. I mean, we're going to find out. We're going to find out how much pride the Bruins have tonight.
Yeah, and I'm excited for that part. But it should be an interesting game because considering these 2 scenarios. But with that being said, let's move into our final game where we got the Oilers versus Canucks. Last game 3, very interesting. But we've seen Both teams kind of have goalie disadvantages. Vancouver's done a great job containing Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl in the series so far. I have Vancouver in 7. You have Edmonton in 7, I believe, was the prediction. I have no reason to believe it won't go 7. I think Edmonton bounces back at home tonight, even though I have the Canucks win the series. I think it's going to be one of those back and forth teams exchange punches, and this could be a game where Edmonton scores 7 goals just because Vancouver's goalies are still a huge question mark. They've done okay so far, but the Oilers are due for a breakout game from that top line, no matter how good Vancouver's defense is and how deep they are. I like the Oilers in this one tonight.
I do too. We keep talking about how pivotal these game 4s are, especially in a 2-1 series. I think the Oilers are really going to be playing with their backs against the wall. They go down. They do not want to go down 3-1 going back to Vancouver. So I think they're going to be peppering Vancouver's defense, which is probably going to lead to a high scoring game. So I'm taking Edmonton in this one.
Yeah, we both have like a scenario where it's going to play out. If Edmonton were to lose tonight, man, there'd be a lot of question marks entering this offseason. I like Vancouver. I think they're more deep, but we'll see what happens tonight. I think Edmonton puts up one of those games where you're talking about the 7 goals plus. I think this could happen tonight because they need this one.
I think it's also going to come down to not just Edmonton being able to net goals, but how well Skinner plays, because last game, like we saw, he saw 16 shots and still.
I think he got pulled. So is there a goalie change on the horizon?
So yeah, I mean Edmonton's goaltending in general. Just say that in case.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Stop the shots you face. If you face 16 shots, you shouldn't let in 4 goals. Maybe you'll let in 1 or 2. You know, your goalie's going to get beat sometimes, no matter who you are. But that's like unacceptable. Your goalie's your best defender. You got to keep the puck out of the net if you want to give your team a chance to win, especially when you have guys like McDavid.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Obviously, got to contain red hot Brock Besser right now, and just the whole Canucks team, because, like I talked about, they've been one of the most complete teams in hockey throughout this whole season, and that's why I like them more. Because Edmonton reminds me of a Colorado, very top line heavy, but after that, questionable goaltending, very similar in my opinion. But with that being said, should be exciting. Hopefully, we get some good series because, we'll see what Boston does tonight. But I know we'll both be excited to watch that and the NBA games as well. But unless there's anything you want to add, we can just wrap this one up.
No, I think, I'm excited to watch these games. I reluctantly say excited as a Bruins fan.
Yeah.
Very well probably going to end tonight.
As a guy that has a couple Bruins fans, should be exciting just to watch from a non-biased point of view. But with that being said, thank you guys all for listening to our NHL recap and preview of tonight's games, and we'll catch you in the next one.